Never heard of the Millennium Falcon? Should I have? It's a ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Kessel Run Weekly. We are sticking with our theme of character chats, and this week I have a special guest joining us. Say hi, Jared.
Hello.
So we're very excited. I have just kind of been looking around for people to pick characters to talk about, or I have people in mind where I could say, oh, I bet that they would be really good about having this conversation because they might know more than I do, or it might just lead to deep discussion. So we are talking about Han Solo today. Are you excited?
I am very excited.
I'm very glad that you're here. But before we do Han, we are going to interview you so that our audience can get to know you better. Some are deep, some are very surface level questions. So we'll get started with, when did you get into Star Wars?
I got into Star Wars, I believe I was 6 years old. It's funny because I was actually introduced to Indiana Jones first before Star Wars, and I really liked Harrison Ford. Mm-hmm. And my uncle, he was like, if you like these movies, you'll probably like these ones too. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's Indiana Jones, but with a laser gun.
Yeah.
So from then, yeah, I just, that's where it started.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I feel like everybody has that, you know, like has either a character or a moment in time where they were like, this is it, you know, even if it's amongst other movies. For me, I didn't see Indiana Jones until after I'd seen Star Wars. So then I was like, oh, that's Han Solo, even though he's younger. All right. So we will do, these are more of our surface level questions. These are going to be your favorites and your least favorites. Because we're still keeping it positive by saying least favorite, but so favorite character in all of Star Wars.
All of Star Wars, it's I'm really torn between Han and Boba.
Oh,
I really like Han and Boba.
Nice.
It's just, I really dig the whole mysterious bounty hunter thing. Even though Boba kind of gets a bad rep, in my mind, I think Boba has some secret cool stories that we haven't seen yet. So, but Han is just that guy that you want to like hang out with. He's just really chill and cool.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and for me, it's funny you say that because up until maybe MegaCon 2017, I hadn't really paid attention to Boba Fett, and then I met people that cosplayed Boba, and then I was like, oh, he could be cool. Like, I just didn't even, it hadn't hit me, but then again, it was around that time that I had really dived back into my fandom, so then it started to hit me to pick up on all the little things, you know? Do you have a least favorite character?
Least favorite character. I really can't say that I do. There's not a character in Star Wars that I'm like really get sick of. Even Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar doesn't really bother me that much. I really can't say that I don't like one particular character. I think they're all enjoyable in their own right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of how I feel too. I feel like I don't really have. I feel like if I absolutely had to pick one, it would be Mace Windu, but I feel like that's usually when I get angry at him. So, like, if I'm not irritated by him, I'm like, that's fine, whatever. You know, if he doesn't do something annoying. So, favorite lightsaber battle?
Honestly, the Vader and Luke battle from Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
It's so much more than just a lightsaber battle. It's an emotional battle. Mm-hmm. I really like when it's more than just swords clashing against each other. It's like, what are these two thinking? And I felt like there was a lot going on between Vader and Luke in that battle in Return of the Jedi.
Absolutely. Do you have a least favorite of those, of battles?
Least favorite battle? Probably the Count Dooku fight from Revenge.
Okay, yes.
A little too easy.
That's fair.
I was like, Count Dooku is said to be the greatest swordsman in all of the galaxy at this point, and he kind of just got wiped out there.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fair. I feel like of all the things and all the times that he talks such a big game,
yeah,
and then he fights these two, and like we know that they're also amazing, but he talks such a big game.
He does. Dooku. I mean, Dooku. They definitely give him credit in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Movies, they don't give him too much.
No, I was literally thinking that too. I was like, but in Clone Wars, they give him a little time. But still. And do you have a favorite quote or maybe just a quote that you think of regularly?
This is going to sound so generic.
I love it. Bring it on.
But Yoda's do or do not, there is no try.
Mm-hmm.
That honestly motivates me to do something. It's not like, don't do something because you want to try it. Do something because you actually want to do it. You either don't want to do it or you do want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I come to a crossroads of, am I going to put my all into this thing that I'm about to do? I go to that quote because I'm like, what would Yoda do? You know?
Yeah. No, I love that for sure. I feel like people can take that quote and like put any motivation that they want on it, and that is a really good one for sure. What keeps you coming back to Star Wars?
Just how big the universe, and I feel like we've only seen a little bit of it. Like it's just so big, and ever since The Mandalorian came out, I've had really high hopes of how much bigger they're going to take it. So I really like universes that are huge and expanding and almost feel never ending. Mm-hmm. So that's my biggest draw to Star Wars is there's just so many stories to tell.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. So personal shameless plug, I started my master's program, and one of my stories that I'm working on is Kira's, and I'm working on two different versions of it. I'm working on what we don't see from her after her and Han get separated up until the point where she sees him again. Yeah. And then I'm also working on the latter fact, which hopefully we'll actually get to see, of her with Maul. So I agree. It's like, and even that's still just skimming the surface because it's based off of characters we already have. Yeah. It's like, well, that's not even taking into account characters that we don't have in such a big universe.
Exactly.
If you could, this is two more silly ones, before we end this part of it. If you could own any creature, so like pet, friend, what would it be?
Oh boy. Oh man. Even though they say they smell really bad, I love a tauntaun.
Yeah.
A tauntaun would be... Imagine just riding around on a tauntaun. Like, yeah. You would get some looks, but also I feel like that would be like, I got a tauntaun.
Yeah, exactly. No, I picked a riding creature too. I don't remember the name of it now. I think it's like a Varactyl that Obi-Wan rides in... I got you. Yeah, the little bird lizard thing. I love that. What color, this is our last question, very easy and simple. What color would your lightsaber be?
I would want it to be yellow.
Oh, nice. I wonder if you're the first person that said that. I don't know. I always say red. I'm a big dark side. I almost said a bad word. we try to keep the podcast family friendly. I'm dark side for all intents and purposes. Yeah. But every time I think about that, I'm like, oh, that's so mainstream, you know, but I gotta go with my gut. Well, thank you for that. That is just so that everybody can get to know you. So I hope you guys, learned a little bit about Jared before we jump into Han Solo, but we are gonna jump right in. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. So we'll start with a deep one. So This is something that my friend actually posed to me, and she said, like, if that's too much, don't ask. And I was like, you know what? It's probably the only one that is like possibly painful to the heart. So we're going to ask it. But why do you think, and the wording is a little iffy, but why do you think maybe Leia and Ben were not enough to keep him home? I did put a little asterisk on this and say, didn't he, like, for me personally, I had to figure out if he left after Ben was turning to the dark side. So then it wasn't necessarily that they couldn't keep him home, but for the sake of the question, why do you think they weren't enough?
I feel like, in my mind, it's also after Ben turned to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Han, even though he puts on this big, like, I'm this macho guy, like, nothing really bothered me, I think that really bothered him. That he wasn't there for his son when his son needed him most. And not necessarily, like, Leia, there's nothing that they really could have done, in all honesty. But I think Han maybe felt like Leia was way too into her duties at the time and had real no connection with his son, since his son is a Force user and Han is not. So maybe he just felt like he needed to get away from it all, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think he was running away, in a sense, but it was more of, I need clarity. I need to put my feet back on the ground. I need to know where I stand before I come and I, go right into the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
So I feel like he was taking time to regather his thoughts and how am I going to handle this situation.
Yeah, no, actually that's entirely fair. And this is actually a pretty good follow-up to that. What do you think he was doing before Force Awakens when he wasn't with Leia? What do you think, like, his activities consisted of?
I think, I honestly feel like the smuggler is still there a little bit. I felt like he did a little bit of, just a little, side jobs, keep active.
Yeah.
Solo status.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like him and Chewie were doing good. I don't think they ever gave up that part of themselves where they wanted to help people. Mm-hmm. And maybe there was a side job, but also something else was going on, and they said, we should help these people out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I love that. I do love the idea of what we see from young Han to what we see from Rebellion stage Han. Mm-hmm. Kind of just rolling over continuously. Like, he started as this guy that was just trying to survive, and then eventually he made it into this criminal underworld sort of thing, but he was like, oh, I'm definitely not a good guy, and then he's just like, definitely a good guy, Yeah. I just love that concept of him. Now, why do you think Han would, all of these are beautiful segues, I love it. Why do you think Han would want to be a well-known smuggler, considering if you are famous as a smuggler, you are considered to not be doing it right because you want to fly under the radar?
I think there is that sense of Han just wanting to be a big old show-off. Like,
yeah.
You can't help it. I feel like in everything that he does, it's showman. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, I'm the best smuggler ever. And they're like, well, you're not really good at the whole secret-y thing. Mm-hmm. Well, I want to be the best there is, and I got to make a name for myself. Mm-hmm. But, I think it's just he wants to be a showman, but he also really enjoys what he does, and even though that's going to get him in trouble with a lot of people, I think he just doesn't care. I think he's like, yeah. I want to make a name for myself. I don't care if people know who I am. Let's go for it. Yeah,
and that, as you were saying that, I was thinking about when he's, like, escaping Corellia, and he gets his last name of Solo, and suddenly is out of the mindset of, like, when he meets Beckett and the crew, and he's out of the, like, this, like, military mindset of just, like, trying to follow orders, but then also not wanting to follow them, and then he meets these people that, like, work for big money. He's like, oh yeah, I want to do that. I feel like his, like, internal hype for when he got started continued. Yeah. And then it just became about him rather than about the crew, Yeah. I do love that thought. What do you think his most daring smuggling run, I guess is the right way to say that, looked like? Do you think it was the Kessel Run, or do you think there was something better?
I feel like there's a story that Han just hasn't said. Like, like that's the one he was keeping in his pocket for a special day, where he's like, someone like topped the Kessel Run or something like that. He's like, well, while everybody was sleeping, I did this.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that would be. I mean, like, it would have to be something pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I feel like he secretly had this thing, because, you know, everybody keeps on bringing up the Kessel Run, and I feel like that gets old at some point. Mm-hmm. But I feel like he has that thing that he did in the back of his head that's like, I'm still cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's like a personal motivator.
Yeah. I didn't do this for the job. I did this for me.
Yeah, yeah. I always want to know more about, like, what him and Lando did together.
Yeah. Like,
outside of... Because we don't get too much of anything in Solo. We get how they met and things like that, but, like, they definitely went on adventures. And I want to see that. Definitely. And I that's probably one of those things that, like, I would be okay with, like, seeing it in a comic, even.
Yeah.
But it'd be real cool to see it in, like, a TV show. Before we move on to, like, cosplay-based questions, do you have anything specifically about Han that you want to talk about? We can do theories. We could do just, like, hot topics or little notes.
Ooh, theories.
I know. Theories. We love theories here. I'm very bad at them, so I'm always like, oh, I don't know.
I do have this feeling, even though I would never see Han as a Jedi.
Yeah.
Ever. But I feel like Han had some kind of force sensitivity
mm-hmm.
as Finn did. I feel like there's some... I see it in both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are traits that Finn has that also Han has.
Mm-hmm.
And I see big similarities between both of them.
Oh, yeah.
And Han always had that gut feeling thing where he's like, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Finn also did. He wasn't as sure as Han always was, but it's like almost that same gut feeling they both have. So, yeah. I've always wondered, is Han a little force sensitive? And like, it's like, okay, this is going to turn out like the Kessel Run. How would anyone have guessed that was going to turn out, in a positive way? And he was just all chill.
Yeah,
like, I got a good feeling about this.
Yeah. He was so relaxed.
I have a feeling that there is some... If it's this much, there's a little bit of force sensitivity.
I do love that concept, yeah. And I agree with the Finn like, alignment, the parallels there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it'd be very interesting to see, like, Luke and Han sit down and have a force conversation.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, I don't think that, like, him and Leia could do it because Leia would be like, it exists, accept it, and he'd be like, no. You know? I feel like theirs would be very, like, it'd be cute, but it would be very hard for them to, like, talk about it, I guess, because, again, like, even her, like, she doesn't get trained in it until later in life.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least, like, later in their relationship and hers and Luke's relationship. So, even for him to just be like, well, like, you didn't learn about it till later. Like, no. You know? Something like that. I feel like he'd be stubborn that way. Okay, so these are our cosplay-based questions. Basically, because interviewing cosplayers, I know I prefaced this before we started recording, but, like, I really enjoy interviewing cosplayers, not only because I am one, but because it's what I consider a very unique perspective on characters. So some of these are also going to be surface level, and some of these are just going to be what you feel when you're cosplaying him. So why do you specifically choose Han as a cosplay? Like, do you have a specific attachment that drew you to him?
I like the rebellious guy.
Okay.
And I feel like Han is the godfather of that rebellious character that's not the main character, but he definitely makes himself known. He's like, when he's on screen, he's front and center stage. And sometimes better than the main character themselves. At some like, I really dig those kind of characters who care, but they won't let you know they care, and they think that they're all tough, and they show that outward appearance, but on the inside they're kind of, you know,
they're a little mushy.
They're all mushy puppy dogs.
Yeah.
So that really that tempted me to cosplay Han. I was like, he's the all of, you know, those kinds of characters, and he just has this swagger that I wish I personally had. That he literally could probably get away with almost anything.
Yeah, fair.
And he has charisma, and he is extremely charming. And I'm just like, man, I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So that is the huge factor into why I would love cosplay Han. I really love him as a character, and he's just, I want to be a space cowboy. I mean,
who doesn't, you know? Yeah, I think that, exactly what you said. Like, it's very much when a character has, like, qualities we wish we had or that we feel we don't necessarily have, even if we do, like, other people might notice them and we don't, you know? Yeah. Like, for me, I tend to get complimented on qualities that I see in Kira. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, you think I have that? Like, but I chose Kira because I'm like, oh, I want that, you know?
Yeah.
It's definitely such a important part when I go through my cosplays to think of stuff like that. More surface level, do you have something that he says, a favorite quote, basically, of Han's, or if there's, like, just an event or a moment where you were like, that's the best thing you've ever done?
Okay. Man, I gotta go through my list.
Yeah, it's like a Rolodex.
I really love when he is defrosted, when he first comes back in Return of the Jedi. He's not scared of, like, there's no point of fear. I mean, he's negotiating heavily, but he's, like, not scared at all. Like, scared at all of Jabba. He's like, we're going to work this out. Hey, we're going to work this out. And I really love that he's, like, not afraid. He's like, I think we can figure this out. I can figure this out. So that scene, throughout the whole entire Jabba's place, like, on just how he's acting, I really love how he's comfortable.
Yeah.
He's in a really bad situation, but he's like, no, we got this. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Yeah.
So I really love how laid back and how he's just really, let's go with the flow and it's going to figure itself out.
Yeah.
Jabba's placing it.
Yeah, that's one actually a similar, in the same setting. The thing that I always think of when I think of Han is when he's just like, how we doing, kid? And he's like, that bad? Like, I love that. I'm like, okay, exactly. He's totally fine with it. They know that they're not in a good spot. They're both handling it.
But they're like, it's going to figure itself out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. So when you cosplay as Han, what do you hope people will feel from you or see you as whenever you're cosplaying Han? What do you try to portray for the character?
In my eyes, when I put on that cosplay, I want people to see, I want them to see his best qualities. He's ambitious. I think that's a good quality for him. He's ambitious. He is endearing. He's well spoken, and he's very. He wants to get into action. Like, he's ready. He would. I feel like through his progression, especially by the end of Empire, I feel like he's ready to go into the fight. End of Empire, going into Return, he's like, I'm ready to do this. So when I cosplay, I really want to give off that energy that it's Han. He's like, I'm ready to go. Here we go. Let's do this. You guys ready? So that is the energy what I want to give off. When I
Yeah. No, I love that. I absolutely love that. I added that question in because after I interviewed Jensen and I interviewed my friend Grace, who cosplays Padme, I just like my wheels started turning because we all have such connections to kind of, I don't want to call it our main person that we cosplay, but every person that cosplay you seem to have some form of connection with, and it's for all different reasons, obviously, but when you put the cosplay on, you want to become that character in a way that it's not just like, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go out and like act like this character. It's like, I want people to feel this when they're around me because I'm cosplaying somebody. Yeah. Because when I put on Kira, depending on the Kira outfit that I'm in, I want to portray different feelings.
Yes.
And that always has helped me kind of understand her better even. So I guess this would be, this is my last question. So what else do you think, this could be long or short, it entirely depends on how you want to answer it or if you want to answer it in different parts. So what else do you think we will learn about Han? We've seen so many timelines, well, not so many, but multiple timelines of his. What else do you think are we going to learn about him?
Oh, man. Whether it be through comic, through TV series, through future movies, whatever it be, my hope for what we do learn, what we learn more about him, is I want to know what he did in between those times between Return and Force Awakens. That's what the in between, the little, maybe when Ben was young, not when he was a kid. I want to learn more of those times, and I really want to see Han have to deal with Crimson Dawn.
Yeah,
I want to see that. I want to see if did that happen. Like, did Han actually ever come face to face with Darth Maul? Like, did that happen? That is the things that I want. Like, especially Darth Maul and Han. Like, I want to know. Did something happen?
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like, I mean, does Han ever see, this might be a dumb question, but I can't think of it right now. Does Han ever see Vader up close? I want to say no, but
I feel like he's gotten close, but like not super close.
Right. Yeah, because when you said face to face with Darth Maul, I was like, oh, he's never been face to face with anybody like that before.
I feel like that would be. I feel like he would be about to poop his pants.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like he would play it off, and then when everybody leaves the room, he's like,
like shaking. Walks away. Yeah. Oh man. I really, taking that into account too, like when I'm thinking of this Kira story that I'm writing, I'm like, I'm writing it to focus on her, but like I can't leave him out of that picture.
Yeah.
Because she literally, like, for lack of a better word, ditches him. And is like, gotta go, gotta save myself. Like, yeah, I'm saving you, but like, yikes. And so she's like out of there. And I'm like, are they ever gonna see each other again? And what is that gonna look like? Especially like if he meets Leia in between the time where Kira's still alive. Like, we don't know how long Kira lives at this point.
The Kira Disney Plus show?
That's what I'm saying. Hello, can you hear us?
Everybody's getting one.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's absolutely interesting. I do love, I hate using this word for it, but like filler information. I love the in-between times. I think those are awesome.
More interesting than the actual thing that's going on, though.
Yeah.
Like, Clone Wars, a lot of people consider the Clone Wars series filler. Mm-hmm. But to me, like, that's better than most that we get. Like,
yeah.
I really honestly think there's a lot of heart and soul in filler Star Wars stories.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we wouldn't have gotten Ahsoka without it, and
Exactly.
very much grew to love her. Like, she's a very big part of my heart. Yeah.
Like, I think filler stories are where it's at in the Star Wars universe right now.
Yeah, it's wild. And they could go anywhere with it, too.
Exactly.
I think that's all I had for you. So this is probably one of our... I mean, it's 30 minutes so far. It's probably one of our shorter character chats. But, I mean, that was a lot of really good information. So I appreciate you being here for that.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. So, before we go, if you want to let the people know where they can find you on social media and whatnot.
Okay. On Instagram, I am just Jared Cosplay. And on TikTok, I am just Jared Cos, C-O-S. I'm making videos on TikTok, and I'm making picture stuff happen on Instagram.
Yeah. We love to see it. So you guys can follow me personally at CJerica on Instagram, CJerica95 on Twitter. I usually just kind of like yell in small bursts on Twitter, so it's not necessarily content. You can read my blog posts. I do have Star Wars Sundays on the Kyber Crystal with 2Ls.wordpress.com. And don't forget to follow the main channel at Kessel Run Weekly on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We have a Facebook group called the Kessel Crew, and you can join the Discord channel for our Twitch streams at twitch.tv/Kessel Run Weekly. I believe that's it. I'm still working on getting that little closing note. But once again, thank you, Jared, so much for being here. Thank you all so much for listening to another episode of Kessel Run Weekly, and we will see you next Friday. May the Force be with you.
Always.